friends. Welcome to another episode of Conscious Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsey.
Hi, I'm Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator.
I'm Lindsey Kearns. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com, and I'm also a conscious certified trauma-informed life coach.
And today we're talking about gun violence again. It's crazy that we talked about gun violence on Monday, just randomly, and then yesterday there was this horrific shooting in Texas. So we want to talk about gun violence. Gun violence is just getting out of control. We talked before that there were 201 mass shootings since January. Now there's 202. With a government, we have a government that is literally putting guns in our youth's hands. They are stating that AR-15 assault rifles are similar to a Swiss Army knife. That is just insanity to
Literally,
me.
that's written into our legislation about a year ago, 2021. They were trying to pass a law saying that if you had to be over 21 to buy any kind of weapon, and they came back and said that AR-15 assault rifles are similar to Swiss Army knives for our youth. I mean, seriously, this is what our system is fighting for, and putting it into writing, you guys.
Yes,
like our legislation, right? The federal one, right? That was just the California one we told you about. The federal one actually states that America would not exist without the heroism of the young adults who fought and died for our Revolutionary Army, which was in 1775. Fought for our Revolutionary Army, that it's unconstitutional to prevent them from weapons. Yet they're not allowed to drink. They can't have alcohol, but they can have a semi-automatic weapon.
Semi-automatic and drive a 1,000-pound
Because in 1775, at that time period, these young people were fighting for us. It was a whole different
It was a different ball of wax. We are now in 2022.
So, I mean, it's crazy to me that they're still citing this stuff. But there's other countries that are doing this. And I know you have a great example I want you to share with us. What one other country did that seemed to be highly effective.
Yes, and I think this is an amazing idea. So in 1998 in Australia, a 28-year-old man shot up about 35 people in Port Arthur, Australia. Within a few weeks, legislation they enacted.
I think that was the biggest mass shooting Australia had ever seen.
Yes, that would not surprise me.
From randomness, not fighting or anything.
Yep. So right away, within just a few weeks, they banned semi-automatic and military-style weapons across the country. The federal government of Australia prohibited their import, which is very important, and lawmakers introduced a generous nationwide gun buyback program. So when people turned in their guns, they got money. This was funded with a Medicare tax to encourage Australians to freely give up their assault-style weapons. Amazingly, many of them did on their own. And guess what has happened since 1998 until now in Australia? 2022, there has not been one mass shooting. Not one.
Yeah. And I mean, whereas that's a beautiful example, I think it's a different country, and that's why it worked for them. You know, I think here, I do know they did do a buyback program in the late 90s, early 2000s that was very unsuccessul. They collected some stuff, but not enough. And I think it goes down to what we were talking about before, you know, the level of fighting that's about to happen in our country. Like everybody's raising.
Let's hope not. But I will, let me just finish this really quickly. This is what I want to say. I don't agree with her, but let me just say that this is a quote about Australia. It says, Australian independence didn't end when they banned these assault rifles. Tyranny didn't come. Australians still hunted and explored, and big waves surfed to their heart's desire. Violence in many forms went down across the country, not up. Somehow lawmakers on either side of the gun debate managed to get along and legislate. As for mass shootings, there were no more.
Yeah, which is wonderful. I think but within our country, the frustrations of so many people are rising right now. I don't see that as being realistic. I mean, we have all of these different little small militias that are in, you know, the backcountry, you know, that are
not just in the back country. I'm from Orange County. We have skinheads and all kinds of different groups, even in Orange County.
But I think with the condition of our political condition right now in this country, there are a lot of people that are gearing up. Their frustrations are rising. Things aren't happening the way
got a lot of problems
none of us
going on,
and it's scary. And we're seeing more people reacting with mass shootings and acting this way where, you know, we need alternatives to that. And I'm with you. I wish we could get rid of all the guns. I mean, I would love for that to be effective here.
I still believe that. But there are other...
I would love for that to happen. But, you know, this country did try that. We did do it by that. The only difference is, in this country, we have not made it illegal to import semi-automatic weapons. And I think that was the difference with Australia.
Nor have we made it illegal to get rid of the semi-automatic weapons, right?
Right, but I think it's within the importing. They stopped all importing. Well,
that's huge. That's absolutely huge.
And people here will make them, you know? You've got people that just do it on their own.
Or maybe if they tell, how about something like this? If they hear like a classmate, or it doesn't always have to happen in school, but let's say they hear a classmate talking about that they want to shoot people. There's some incentive for turning in this person. Now, of course, we don't want these tattletales telling on people just to
But you have to understand it's not tattletaling. It's getting them help. Because if they're to the point where they're discussing they need to go and take this action and do something of this nature, they need help.
No, I meant tattletaling on people that weren't, you know, that didn't say things like this. This is what Americans are talking about right now in order to deal with this problem. They're talking about something called behavioral threat assessment teams. So,
and I love this concept, but it's funny, we have to share this first out of the gate, that Los Angeles, LA is the only city that has these behavioral threat assessment teams because they were designed, what did you say, in the 90s?
At least 30 years.
They're stalking celebrities.
Yeah.
However, this would be highly beneficial in every city.
There's nothing in New York. And instead, and I love our celebrities, but our celebrities are our aristocracy. They're our king and queen of England. So we took care of them right away. But then there's nothing for all these mass shootings, these children, these innocent children. So what Americans are saying, what they're saying is a possible alternative, is these behavioral threat assessment teams, which would be a law enforcement individual and then a mental health individual that is highly trained on how to detect threat assessment if somebody is possibly going to be a perpetrator.
Right.
Most perpetrators plan their attacks for months.
Well, and we even have a current example as to why this would be so helpful and effective is the Buffalo shooter, the one that just happened, like a weekend ago.
It was 2 weekends, not last weekend, the weekend
before.
before.
The Buffalo shooter had actually been detained and questioned, a year or two prior?
In 2021.
Yeah. Yep. And he lied and was questioned in the emergency room
for
and
15 minutes, held 24 hours, and he laughed and wrote in his journals, "Oh yeah, I lied. I said it was a big joke." Because when he was in school, when he was a senior and 18, he said, they said, "What do you want to do after school?" And he said, "Oh, I want to do maybe a homicide and a suicide." So that's when they took him in. He said, "Oh, it was just a big joke," and blah, blah, blah. They did talk about getting this child therapy, but at this point, this child was 18. So it was their decision if they wanted to go to therapy or not. So the thing about behavioral...
Well, and if you had the behavioral threat assessment team, right, if a mental health professional had been talking to him and done an hour long or however long, more than 15 minutes.
It's going to be a couple of days of working with them.
Situation.
At least, yes. So the thing is with this kind of idea of how to deal with guns, we have to get the perpetrator before they do the perpetration. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Before they do the violence. So it is challenging. And then we have this political gridlock over guns, right? We're just fighting back and forth instead of all working as a team.
That's with everything and why things can't get accomplished in this country, because the Republicans are on one side, the Democrats are on the other. No one listens to the independents.
No.
And nothing can get done. Everyone's just going to keep fighting.
Right. And so these behavioral assessments are designed to delve much more deeply into a person's psyche. Yeah. You can't do that in 15 minutes. You can't do that in 24 hours. This takes time. Time. And so, go ahead.
And I think usually with the behavioral assessments, if the team sees potential violence in somebody, right, then they can notify the other people in their lives. And it looks something like a coach wrapping themselves around this child or just giving them extra attention and trying to draw them out, or a teacher doing the same, or a caregiver to a child, right? Noticing, or it can even be a peer, right? A peer noticing somebody else sitting in the lunchroom all by themselves every day for weeks, maybe walking up and saying, hey, I noticed you're sitting here. I'd love to get to know you a little better or something.
And education to these children about these kids that are left out or sitting by themselves. Go include them.
Well,
Go
they generally feel lonely. They feel like outcasts.
Lonely and outcasts.
Life isn't going the way they want it to go. So they start creating these ideas of, well, how do I get attention? What can I do?
How do I become famous?
Up? Yeah.
Yep.
And we forget that this is all rooted in really deep-seated feelings of loneliness or depression. And something as simple as hey, I noticed you sitting here. I'd love to get to know you better. Might change everything.
Yeah. And another thing that they're talking about with this behavioral threat assessment is that a law enforcement official would actually also wrap themselves around this person. They would check in all the time on this child or young adult or adult, whatever. And they would befriend them. And it would just be them stopping by and saying, how are you doing? What's going on? I'm here for you.
Being a mentor.
I'm here for you. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, did you hear about this tournament? We should go join it.
Or something. Also, like Big Brothers and Big Sisters is very helpful. And
watching shows like this where we're talking about just reaching out and communicating.
Need to keep talking about it.
Just not talk to somebody that's sitting there.
And we need to do something about it. I am terrified every single day that I send my 3 kids to school. Terrified every single day. And I have another idea. I've said, I want to get rid of guns. She says that's not possible.
And I would love to get rid of guns.
Right. Well, but
I have no issue with that.
It is going to be really hard. It is going to be. They're not in my house.
But people won't turn them in, especially with the political issues that are being and the frustrations that are rising right now.
We will see.
We don't know what's going to happen.
We will see. We don't really know. But I have another idea, and that is our veterans. They've done so much for us, and then they come back with this horrible PTSD. We don't offer them mental health services. They should have mental health services for the rest of their life for free psychiatric, free therapy forever, and whatever else they need. They've done a lot for our country. So what I think is take these VAs, pay them well, and have them surround the schools. Now, would I like to do this at every cafe in the United States and every movie theater and every grocery store and every car show and every supermarket? Yes. But right now, that's probably not feasible. But why not use our veterans and pay them really well and they're already trained and protect our schools? We have to do something. How many times does this have to happen? How many children have to die? When the shooter walked in yesterday into this classroom, the 2 teachers tried to protect the children and they were shot. The shooter said to the children, he went into one classroom and basically shot up this classroom. And what he said is, you're all going to die. And a 10-year-old girl reached for her phone to dial 911. And the shooter shot her, I don't know if in the head or in the chest, killed her. And her blood went all over her best friend that was sitting right next to her. So this is what we are talking about. This is what we are looking at. And then he was shot. And honestly, I feel like that's too good. I feel like that's too good for them.
I don't know what his backstory was, though, or why he was in there, or what he was doing.
Well, he had shot his grandma, and then I always think, was he horribly abused? You know what I mean? Probably he was. If you look into his eyes, I see deadness in his eyes. I see black eyes. To me, that's what I see. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see a picture
of him?
Yeah. So, but the other thing is, they want to be heroic. They want to be remembered. And we are remembering them. We're talking about them all the time because we don't know what to do. And that's another thing. They shouldn't even be mentioned.
I think a large part of it is, they should be mentioned in the vein that you need to start talking to these people. You see these outcasts sitting around. If you're too scared to talk to them, go get the guidance counselor. Or go call, what's the mental health services? The PET team.
We don't even have one out here in Ventura County, just so you know.
Well, to go call, whatever services and say, hey, there's somebody, even call the police and say, there's somebody sitting there that looks off. Why don't you go talk to them? And let the police go up and, like we were saying before, mentor them, help them, see if we can pull them out on some level.
If they do
but
that.
Just walking by, that's why this is happening.
Yeah.
We're all turning blind eyes to stuff. And we're all reacting with ego and fear. And that's why this is going to continue. When we can get past that, when we can live from our hearts with compassion, and we can
work
these
as
people.
A team. We are a team. We are all a team. None of us want our children or anybody to be hurt. All of us want to be able to go to the movie theaters and send our kids to school and know that they're going to come back safely. I mean, imagine these poor parents.
I can't
either. So anyways.
All right, you guys. That's it for today. Please share your tips if you have tips on mass shootings.
Any
ideas
things to do. You have.
We want to hear them. We love to share them. And we will see you on Friday. Happy Hump Day.